Question I have is, I've always been fascinated with the fact that the moon, we always see the face of the moon no matter where we're at. You never get to see the dark side unless you're on a spaceship. So my question is this: is the moon, the consistency of the moon, not homogeneous enough that there's like a heavier side and a light side of the moon, so that the heavier side is always facing the Earth? What is it that causes the face of the moon to always be there, and the moon doesn't, where we could see the dark side and then the light side?
Now that's a very interesting question. I've never been asked that, and I don't know about you geologists, and we have some people with astrophysics, some astrophysics background as well. We did learn in the 1960s, in the early programs, before we got to the moon, in orbiting the Earth, we learned, it's a good question. With the NASA program, we learned that there are 4 equidistant spots on the Earth called mascons, mass concentrations, mascons. Do you know about mascons?
I read something on this.
2 of them are mountainous areas where the mass of the Earth is focused. But one of them is subsurface of the sea, and another one is sea level, giving 4 equidistant spots on the globe, and that helps to maintain the rate, the velocity of the Earth's rotation. That also means that a sphere can have 4 corners. Did you read in an old book that 4 angels stood on the 4 corners of the earth? How can you stand on the 4 corners of the earth if the earth is a sphere? That's stupid. No, it's not stupid. Just take the science. The earth is a sphere. The earth is not flat, by the way. The earth is a sphere, but it has 4 corners. They're mascons. I need to do some research, because I did read a few months ago that the moon has a larger number of mascons, and they are erratic. They're not equidistant. Only the Earth has the equidistant mascon. Mike, you work with NASA. You come on up here and help us answer this. You lecture at the Air Force Academy. It takes our whole team to get this done. Do you know, and I'm going to research this, but I do know the fact that the moon has many more mascons, but I don't know where they're located. It would be very interesting to find that one reason the moon always has the same face to the Earth is that there are more mascons on that Earth-facing side that would gravitationally cause that. Good question. Do you know the answer to that?
I do not, but I do know the moon is tidally locked to the Earth's rotation.
Yes.
And so because of that lock, we always see that same side. Let me tell you an anecdote that's really weird, though. I was reading a book about the moon one time, an atheist book, and they claim it is the proof that aliens had visited the Earth, because the moon is so perfectly sized, positioned, and what it does, that was the proof that someone had brought that moon here and left it in orbit. And I said, well, they're right, but it wasn't aliens.
But it wasn't aliens. And that would require a pretty big alien. Hey, good comment. Stay a moment, because it made a follow-up.
From what you're saying, if you have 4 equal mascons on the Earth,
then
that
the
means
Earth's rotation is going to be consistent.
The moon will not affect our rotation.
It won't affect it that much.
But, well, it would speed slow, but it would still be equal over time.
Yes.
But if the moon isn't balanced, then we do affect their rotation.
Correct.
We're slowing down because of the moon.
Yes, we are slowing down. Yes.
Very slightly. And of course, the moon is retrograding away from us. That slows us down. As a dancer, spreads her.
Yeah, let's get that on.
You know, the Earth-Moon system is slowing down slightly, and the Moon is retrograding, I think about a centimeter per year, and so we slow down a little bit. It's like an ice skater, as she extends her angular momentum, it has to slow down. So that is all happening. In fact, that has caused us to introduce leap seconds into the global positioning system. It's a more complicated lecture, but in order to navigate our fighters and get bombs on target, we've got to know exactly where things are on the surface of the Earth, and the Moon causes us to miss if we're not careful.
Aren't you glad you came today?
Yeah.
Aren't you glad he came and they came? All right. One more final question, and then we'll... Wow, it's 1:45. Miss Lunch again.
I've got about 3 different questions I could ask, but I'm just going to choose one. And I'll choose the one that's simpler, I think. I think it's simpler. We know that before the return of Christ, or, let's just say during the last days, we're going to have a lot of environmental changes in our weather because the Revelations prophesies that. Would any of this information about the Moon and the rotation of the Earth and the way the Moon's drifting away and the Earth is slowing down, and then the different factors from the Sun in its intensity on the Earth, how is that going to influence these things that are supposed to happen in the last days, like the sun burning man, the water turning red due to probably the red tides and so forth? Can you address that?
Okay, just briefly, and then we'll ask these 2 men, and then we'll close for the day. We have a lot of false alarms that have been generated. A lot of good people, a lot of good televangelists have referred to the red moons,
The blood moon.
the blood moon, and so forth. And probably that is simply a hint that more is to come. But the blood moon is not the fulfillment of these drastic and dramatic changes. It's going to be so severe that people on earth will hide in the caves of the earth to say, like that atheist, if I can just get this over, it's all going to be over. But it's not. And there are going to be signs in the sun and the moon that are not simply variations of eclipse. So how's that going to happen? Well, if the Bible asks a question, it does give an answer if we search far enough. Scripture's clear that at least twice, using the words matash and natah in the Hebrew, during the creation week and then during the flood week, the fabric of the universe expanded, literally. And that helps to explain some of the time element. I'm very eager to read your take on the time. And he's publishing on that soon. That helps to explain some of the dilation following Einstein's calculations there. Some of the dilation, expansion of space fabric dilates time and it matures mass, meaning that we see some of these galaxies exploding, whole galaxies exploding, stars chaotically exposing. And just in a 6,000-year universal history, that's because if you expand space, the Einsteinian equations show if you expand space, if you could expand space fabric, you would dilate time and you would mature mass, all simultaneously. During the creation, the Bible in Psalm 104 and in Psalm 18 and 2 Samuel 22, the Bible describes this expansion of the space fabric. That's not all. The Bible describes a time when the heavens are going to be rolled together like a scroll. When you get that expansion, which has also, because of my wife's husband's sin, we caused the decay of the universe, not just Adam. Our sin. When you get that expansion, maturing the mass, and then you reverse that, the heavens are going to look a little squirrely. Things are going to go out of kilter. The moon affects your emotions. If you have this, it affects the water. And a newborn baby is 90% water in his brain. It affects us. And if you get an imbalance in this and things come closer, how would you like for the moon to be half again as close? You get tidal effects not only on the earth and the upheavals, but you get effects within your body. So, the Scripture describes a time, not now, but it could happen overnight, when the heavens are going to melt with fervent heat and they're going to be rolled together like a scroll. Sure glad we know the Lord. It's only part of an answer. Mike, do you have anything to add to that?
No, sir.
Do you have anything to add to that?
There is going to be a sign in the latter days. And we don't know exactly what that sign might be, but I think the sign is going to be the fact. I've done some research on the calendars and everything, and at one time, before the 8th century BC, all the calendars had 360 days. Mm-hmm. And they had 12 lunar cycles, and the lunar cycles matched the solar cycles. We don't have that now. We have it out of phase. But in the Revelation, if you go to chapter 13 of Revelation, you're going to see that the Lord is going to return to that cycle before the end, because he's going to give that as one of the signs that, hey, I'm in control. It's going to go back to 360 days. I mean, literally, people, 360 sunrises and sunsets, not 365.
Got it.
It's going to return to that.
And in order for that to happen, the
God
entire
has to put his hands on it.
God needs to put his hands on it and realign the entire universe.
Exactly.
By the way, he's written a treatise on that. He's going to read it to me tomorrow morning as he and I go to a speaking appointment. And then very soon that's going to be available here at this museum, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.